Hi y'all, this is Suzanne Culbreth. I'm one of the E3 geometry trainers and I'm excited to be here with you today to give you an update of the 2019 math course of study. I had the privilege of being on the course of study committee with Leanne Latta and a group of amazing Alabama educators. As you can see, we came from all over the state of Alabama, not only classroom teachers, but also specialists and community stakeholders and university professors and directors. A lot of times we think that maybe the course of study comes from some smoke-filled room in Gordon Persons building done by the folks there, but I can assure you it was not. We met 2 to 3 times a month between March 2018 and March 2019. This just gives you a feel of some of the things we did at each and every one of those meetings, looking at public review, revising, reviewing, considering public comment, to come up with a finalized draft and be ready for the February school board meeting and present it there. Hours and hours and hours were spent preparing that document. But the governor asked us if we would take a step back and look at our document through the lens of NAEP. We did that throughout the summer and fall, and I'm proud to say that in December 2019, the math course of study was voted on by the board positively. As you can see, those hands raised were the board members that supported our work. I love this tweet from Kathleen Lanier, who's from Southern Research. Today was a great day for Alabama students, and I truly believe these were Alabama standards by Alabama teachers for Alabama students. I want us to begin with the conceptual framework. I'll be the first to confess that when I would get a new state course of study, I would take it and go straight to the geometry section and begin looking and studying my geometry standards. But please notice the arrows in this image and the importance of the student mathematical practices and the math teaching practices and our position statements. Each of those arrows is just as important as the other. And take some time to read and study, discuss and share. Talk about it in your PLC meetings with your colleagues. Study those. And I believe it will make a difference as you implement it into your practice, into your classrooms. Firstly, these position statements. They are from and correlate with work done in Principles to Action. Number 1, access and equity in mathematics education. I believe this is the cornerstone of our course of study. We ask ourselves always, if any decision that was made, would it be equitable for every student in the state of Alabama? Then we have our effective mathematics teaching practices. Goals, tasks, look at those bolded words, representations, discourse, questions, productive struggle. Ask yourself, are those the things that you are doing in your classroom each and every day? In Appendix A, you will find a table where each of the mathematics teaching practices is correlated to equitable teaching and how those teaching practices help you to establish equitable teaching for your students. Then there are the student mathematical practices. This is what students should be doing in our classrooms each and every day. Also take some time to study Appendix C, where each of these mathematical practices are broken down into what students can do because of what teachers are doing. If we want our students to be able to explain their thinking, then we as teachers should be facilitating discussion through guided questions and representations. Now let's dig into the content areas. Notice that these are based on the NAEP content areas, and they begin in kindergarten and go through high school. If we look specifically at the content standards for 9-12, something we haven't seen before are the essential concepts. Within each of the focus areas, there are essential concepts, and that is how the standards are grouped. Those essential concepts come from catalyzing change and high school mathematics. which was the cornerstone of a lot of the high school work. Here's a closer look at those essential concepts and the focus areas within those essential concepts. As we read the standards, another area that we work diligently to provide for the teachers is the idea for certain standards, what is the extent from that context? Where is it arising from? What is it limited to? So it kind of gives you some boundaries and some context within each of the standards. So there won't be any confusion as to what is included or what would be excluded within each of those standards. So please be sure you notice that. Now let's think about pathways. If we're looking in our middle school, we see that everyone begins in 6th grade and then has the option to move to 7th grade or grade 7 accelerated. Grade 7 accelerated and grade 8 accelerated are new courses for our course of study. Previously, districts were handling their accelerated classes in many different ways. Now it is standardized, and a student that successfully completes grade 7 accelerated and grade 8 accelerated will satisfy the Algebra 1 requirement. They will not get a credit for it, but they will have covered and be proficient in that content. The key here is rate, how quickly a student is moving through the content. Grade 7 and grade 8 accelerated are 3 years of content into 2 years of classroom work. Here is the 9th grade pathway, beginning with geometry, and then if the student has completed the acceleration, they can go straight to Algebra 2 with stats or go directly into Algebra 1. Notice on the right the specialized courses, including AP and the extended courses through the ALSD approved courses or dual enrollment. Here are just some possible pathways, the opportunities for students in middle school and then progressing into high school. A student can, if they did not accelerate in middle school, they can choose to accelerate in high school with geometry and data analysis and Algebra 1 taken concurrently. And that allows them to be able to take 2 specialized courses such as Pre-Cal and AP-Cal. Or if they've accelerated in middle school, then they still have the opportunity to take both Pre-Cal and AP Calculus or the other specialized courses. Why do we have geometry first is a question that a lot of people have asked, and a couple of reasons. First of all, the idea of a common experience. So in middle school, they have a common experience. In 6th grade, everyone together, and begin high school with a common experience of geometry with data analysis. The geometry team worked very diligently to make sure that students would have all of the prerequisite knowledge that they needed to be successful in this geometry course from middle school. Everything they needed was taught in middle school so they could be prepared and ready for geometry first. Also, it avoids what we call the geometry sandwich with algebra first, then geometry, then algebra 2. Now students can progress directly from algebra 1 to algebra 2. Why statistics? This is a great quote from Christine Franklin, University of Georgia, talking about the importance of statistical reasoning to cope with the requirements of citizenship, employment, and family. This is an area that we have not emphasized in the past, but is a emphasis in the new state course of study. Algebra 1A and B have been eliminated. We will provide support for students, but all of the research is really unequivocal that the students that are placed on a track with less access to rigorous curriculum and high quality instruction is qualitatively different from students not placed on that track. So how are we going to help these students? The many schools in our state are already doing this, but they're the idea of the optional lab course, support for students who are struggling. If you'll look in the 912 overview on page 105, the idea and the purpose of those optional lab courses is discussed extensively there. There are two new courses, Applications of Finite Math and Mathematical Modeling. The Applications of Finite Math parallels discrete math, and Mathematical Modeling includes all of the objectives from Algebra with Finance. Here are the 912 pathways, and the beauty of this graphic is you can begin with the end in mind. You can start on the right, and students can look at those career opportunities that their post-secondary areas of study or post-secondary employment, and then think about what courses they would take to reach those goals, both in college, community college, and in high school. So they can begin with the end in mind and work backwards. A beautiful graphic for both counselors and parents, and this can be found in Appendix B. As you know, A+ College Ready is working in conjunction with the State Department to provide E3 professional development. AMSTI also has offerings this summer with a course of study overview, spotlight on stats, and probability professional development. So check in with your AMSTI centers and see when they are going to be providing those professional developments and those days of learning. The course of study, one last thing, the course of study is correlated to the ACT, and that is a spreadsheet that is available to you. Thank you so much for your time. This presentation will be available in Canvas, and so you can see the notes for each slide and any hyperlinks or links that I discussed. I appreciate your time.